So welcome to Sunday Career Success. I am Bill, the company's expert. And today we are going to be talking about how to tap the hidden job market. This is a topic that a lot of people have questions about, and there is a live chat. So if you can see the live chat, after all, this is a Q&A session. So make sure that you, if you have any questions, get in the live chat, ask your questions. And more than that, if you're listening right now, say where you are and where you are. Say who you are and where you're from. That would be great. And I can get to your questions. Now, just to kick us off, let's talk a little bit about the hidden job market. I've been teaching HR for a while, and it's funny because this is a topic that especially a lot of younger people, they don't know about. Okay, so basically there are two ways to get a job. So if you are a job seeker right now, you're looking for a job, or you're currently employed and you're looking to change jobs to get a better job, this is going to be a lot of a big interest to you. Okay, so let's start from the beginning here. Like I said, there's two places you can look to discover jobs and to apply for jobs. The first place is called the posted job market. The other place is called the hidden job market. So let's talk about the posted job market. Any place where they are posting a job is the posted job market. Okay, so obvious examples of this are on the internet. Okay, the job aggregator sites like Indeed.com, company websites, job boards, things like that. That's all the posted job market. In addition, outside of the internet, if you go down to the mall or something and you look in all the windows of the stores, some of them will say help wanted, or they'll say hiring. So you walk in and you maybe drop off a resume. That's all the posted job market. In all of those cases, the hiring manager, who is the person who has authority to create a new position, they are broadcasting to the world that, hello, I'm creating a new position and I'm looking for candidates. Okay, so that's the posted job market. And once again, most people, when you're young, you're starting off and you think, you're maybe 18 years old or something, and you think, I got to get a job. This is the default place to look. You look for job ads, and then you answer job ads with an application. Usually includes your resume. So that's the posted job market. And for a lot of people, they think that's it. They think that's the entire thing. Well, what we're going to be talking about today is the hidden job market. As it turns out, and I've heard all kinds of statistics on this, but I use a conservative estimate. I say that 30% of jobs are in the posted job market, 70% are in the hidden job market. That's very conservative. Most people will give you even better numbers than that. They'll say something like 80% of all jobs are in the hidden job market. So what this means is that if you look at all the job postings online and all the job postings you can see in the real world, in the brick and mortar world, those are only 30% of all the jobs that are actually out there. There's many more jobs out there. Okay, just that you're not seeing them. They're not that obvious, okay, because they're hidden. So that's the hidden job market. That's its definition, okay? Now, it's funny because I tell this to a lot of people who are just starting out, and they're surprised by this. This becomes as a big shock to them. Now, anyone out there who's ever been a hiring manager, who's ever played the role of a hiring manager, that if you need to recruit for a position, okay, what is easier? Is it easier to tell your existing employees and say, look, I need to hire another position, another one of you guys. So if you know anyone, or if you want to recommend anyone, let me know. Is it easier to do that? Or is it to say, you know what, I'm going to hire an outside recruiting firm. I'm going to write up a complete job ad, complete job specifications. I'm going to email that to the recruiting firm. I'm going to get them to do a first round of interviews, and then I'm going to attend the second round of interviews, and then we're going to make a selection. Okay, then we're going to do background checks and reference checks and all this. Which one of the two options is easier and least expensive? It's the first one, right? Where you just ask for a referral from people you know, usually your existing employees. Okay? Now, if you've ever been a hiring manager, you've ever been in a role like that where you've had to hire somebody, you know that that's kind of your behavior. Your behavior, more or less, is to do that. Okay? Is to not post it publicly, but just ask around. Okay? So that is the hidden job market. The hidden job market are jobs that are not posted publicly. The job exists in the sense that you've got a hiring manager looking to hire somebody, looking to fill a position, but they haven't created a job posting and they haven't promoted it and publicized it to the world. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. Now, as I said, this is very important for two reasons. Number one, most jobs are in the hidden job market. And number two, if you're going for a job in the hidden job market, you're putting yourself forward as a candidate, the competition is much less fierce when you're going up for a job in the hidden job market. So let's talk about that for a second. Okay, so post a job market. One of the disadvantages with responding to job ads is because of the competition. And thanks to the internet and thanks to online job applications, it has gotten extremely easy to apply for jobs. And it is not uncommon for a lot of jobs for the recruiter to receive 100 candidates. That's becoming commonplace, especially for online jobs. This is because it's so easy to do. I mean, you could easily get on Indeed.com and you could apply for 100 jobs in a day. You know, that is not uncommon. A lot of people do that. And that is why the success rates for online jobs, like the, whatever you call it, the callback rate, is so low. Because, I mean, if you're going up against 100 other candidates already, you know, before you even look at the individual candidates and their pros and cons, you know, you have a 1% chance statistically of getting that job because you're competing with 99 other people. So the contrast is jobs on the hidden job market. Generally speaking, you're up against maybe 2 or 3 other people tops. You know, in some cases, you might be the only candidate. And the question is, do they hire you or do they keep looking because they don't have any other applicants at the moment, right? So these are the advantages of the hidden job market. And so a great job search strategy is to focus a lot of your effort on the hidden job market. There are other advantages too. Because you're dealing with people that you have some kind of a personal connection with, maybe a friend of a friend's manager, something like that, you're not a complete stranger. You're not a complete unknown, and therefore you're a lower risk candidate. So that's another advantage of applying for jobs in the hidden job market. Now, let's just go back for a second, okay? Maybe let's talk about the process that recruiters and hiring managers follow. Let's start off with the definitions of a couple of these, because I know that a lot of people don't understand these definitions very well. Okay, a hiring manager. A hiring manager is not the same as a recruiter. A lot of people think that those are the same job, and they're not. They're wildly different. Hiring manager is a person who works for the company, the employer, and they have the authority to create a new position. And in all likelihood, this new position, when they hire someone for it, the hiring manager will be their boss. Okay, so they understand the ins and outs of the job. They understand the requirements of the job. They understand the job itself very, very well. What they may not have a great understanding of, depending on the situation, is HR, is how you go about recruiting, which is finding candidates, you know, how you would maybe do a selection. What is the best way to do a selection? I mean, anybody can pick a candidate, but to pick a candidate intelligently it requires a little bit more. So, and then the process that you use to do this, and how you interact with candidates, and the protocol, and all that kind of stuff. So, is that the end of the world? No, it isn't. But generally, that's the hiring manager. The hiring manager is an employee of the company. They're a manager. They're not a recruiter. Now, if a hiring manager needs a position filled, that's where a recruiter comes in. A recruiter, they may or may not work for the employer. In fact, if this is a smaller business we're talking about, and by small I mean under 100 employees, oftentimes the recruiter does not work for the employer. They are a hired gun. They work for an independent recruiting firm, and they are paid to find candidates that meet a list of requirements. So that's usually how these things are structured. The hiring manager will send a list of requirements to the recruiter and say, I'm looking for someone that has this. Find me some candidates that have all these things. And that's the recruiter's job. The recruiter's job is to find candidates that meet requirements. Okay, that's their job. And I've done videos on this in the past. Over on my regular channel, by the way, The Company's Expert. This is my live channel, The Company's Expert Live, which is just in its infancy, and maybe rightly so. So that's the difference between a hiring manager and a recruiter. Recruiter, that's their profession. Their profession is to go and to discover candidates and also do a good part of the selection process, which is to filter down the list of applicants. So usually what happens is the recruiter, what they spend their time on is most often, especially in sort of the lower tier recruitment companies, they are spending their time posting jobs, receiving applications, and filtering them. Okay? You go from maybe 100 applicants from an online posted job, you maybe go down to a short list of about 15. You maybe possibly interview those 15 in person, the candidate and the recruiter. That's the first round of interviews. And then they'll pare it down even further. They'll whittle it down, filter it down even further to get about usually three to five candidates. And then they do a second round of interviews where it'll be the recruiter, the candidate, and they'll bring in the hiring manager this time. And they're presenting this short list of candidates to the hiring manager. Now, if the hiring manager ends up wanting to hire one of these candidates, one of the list of 3 or 5, then usually the way it works is that the hiring manager then pays the recruitment company a fee. They pay the recruiter a fee. Okay, if we end up hiring one of the people that you found and you present to us, then then we will pay you a fee. And usually the fee is a percentage of the candidate's first year salary. It doesn't mean that the candidate gives their salary to the recruiter. It just means that the amount that the recruiter gets paid is locked off the candidate's salary, first year salary. So that's kind of the difference between a hiring manager and a recruiter. I see there's a question in the chat here from AT. Is it a good or bad idea to contact a hiring manager directly, maybe an intro or pseudo information interview? Yeah, you can definitely contact. And in fact, that is the method to break into the hidden job market. And that's what we're going to be talking about in a second. So that's a great question. So if you stick around, I will be able to answer that in depth. Okay, so now that we know about the posted job market, the hidden job market, we know about hiring managers, we know about recruiters, let's talk about the hidden job market. So the hidden job market is where the job exists, but it hasn't been posted. Okay? The job itself might be spreading through word of mouth through a small group of people that are aware of its existence, and they usually start by thinking, do I have any friends or family members that may be a good fit for this, that would make sense for them to apply. So that's the hidden job market. It's a hidden job. It's not posted publicly. So obviously, if you have a personal connection to the hiring manager, let's say you are friends with somebody who works for the hiring manager, and your friend knows that this job exists and they're looking for someone, they could maybe volunteer it to you. They say, hey, there's a job here and they're going to be hiring someone. They're going to be looking for someone with this. And I know that you have some of those, if not all of those. Are you interested? If you're interested, I can put your name forward. And if you give me a resume, I can pass that on to the hiring manager and we'll see if it makes sense for everybody. Okay. So obviously, if you have a personal connection, then that's a way to discover the job and a way to apply for it. Now, most people will not just happen to have that personal connection at just the right time when that company happens to be hiring for something in the hidden job market. So the question is, how can you tap into that? And that's what we're talking about today. Well, the quick answer to answer that question is networking. Okay? Networking, I know that's a very, very general term, very loose term, but that is the way to tap the hidden job market. And I'm going to go into specifically what that means. So, okay, so a job exists in the hidden job market. Now, we got to talk about one thing first, okay? The job hunting process first of all, it's a numbers game, and it's a very serendipitous game. It means it just happens by accident, okay? For you to get a job that you're going for, you just have to happen to have what a hiring manager just happens to be looking for at the same time, right? That's just the nature of the game. Two things that just come together where the person with the demand has the person with the supply, and then they just link up. They dovetail beautifully. That's the nature of it. So knowing this, okay, what can we do? Well, number one, we can apply for a lot of jobs. Okay, so don't just sit around, and apply for one job a year and then get disappointed when it doesn't happen. It's a serendipitous game. You just happen to have to have, a certain skill set and a certain list of traits that a certain person is looking for at exactly the same time that they're looking for it. Okay? So if you don't get a job, that one of the side effects of this means don't take rejection too seriously, because it just, you're just happen to have something that someone happens to be looking for. And if the two don't quite come together, that's nobody's fault. That's just the nature of reality. Okay. But the other thing we can do, so let's talk about that for a second, okay, to apply for many jobs. Well, in the old days before the internet, you had to do networking. Networking was much more of a physical experience where you actually went and physically talked to people. You were in the same room with them, or you got on the phone, and did either cold calling or, just phone conversations. Or you're asking about things through the grapevine, through your personal network. And that was quite challenging for especially a lot of introverted people. But now, thanks to the internet, especially thanks to social networking, most networking is done online, okay, with websites like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I mean, this is how people do networking. The first point of contact with a lot of people for about jobs or other things are usually going to be through social networking. It's a very easy and simple way to reach lots and lots of people, and to even target the people that you're reaching, so that the people you're reaching are appropriate, and you're not just blasting out, like broadcasting something that 95% of people that receive it, it doesn't make any sense for them. It's not, doesn't apply to them. Okay, so A lot of networking is done on social networking. Okay. So imagine that you're in a situation where you are connected to many, many people on social networking site of your choice, LinkedIn, Facebook, this kind of thing. And you just happen to broadcast that you have a certain list of traits and a certain list of skills, and you're looking for employment opportunities. And, other relevant information, like, you're really excited about doing this type of work and you have a real talent for this type of work. So if anyone has a need for that, reply. Now imagine you blast that out to, say, 1,000 people. Okay. And a lot of those people are appropriate. They are people that are either hiring managers themselves, or they're people who work as employees in companies for hiring managers who may be looking to hire someone for a position. Okay. So what's happening is that you're sort of broadcasting yourself out there and saying, look, I happen to have this. Now, if anyone who hears that message just happens to be looking for someone with that thing, then there's a match. Okay. And what usually happens is you get a dialogue happening. Someone might respond and say, hey, actually, we're thinking of hiring someone in this area for this job with these skills. Maybe send me your resume, or, maybe let's talk further, something like that. Okay. So you don't see the job. You don't see the jobs posted, but you are offering yourself up as a candidate for potential hiring managers who they know of the job and they are looking for candidates. So that's the idea. That's one of the ways to tap the hidden job market. That's the simplest way. There's actually many different ways to do it, but that's probably the simplest way is just a broadcast. You say, hey, I'm here. I got this. I'm looking for this. If anyone knows of anything, let me know. Now, one interesting point about that is that usually when you broadcast and you say, does anyone know of anything? The only people that are going to respond or do anything are the hiring managers who are directly looking. Okay. If you send that message and it goes to, say, an acquaintance of yours, and they don't know of any job or any hiring manager who's looking to hire someone like you, 99.9% chance they will not forward it on. It'll just die there. The way you get success with this is that you reach the hiring managers directly. Okay. That's usually how it works. And the secondary person that may be of use is if you reach an employee who they might not be hiring themselves. They are not the hiring manager, but there is an incentive for them to come up with a candidate that gets hired. Okay. Such incentives could be, referral bonuses, things like that. Like if you recommend someone that we end up hiring, you get a bonus. You get like $1,000 or something. Then you get those employees, helping and responding and doing some work on your behalf. The other incentive could be that, they want to work with people that they know and they like. So if you're their friend and they're hiring, where your friend works, your friend might want you to be hired because, cool, it's my friend. I know them. I know they're not going to get on my nerves. I know that they're not going to, harass me or bully me or, really make my job miserable. So yeah, I would like them to be hired. So that's another incentive. Okay. So when we ask the question, how to tap the hidden job market, that is the most simple and direct answer, is to get on social networking and to broadcast either in a post that goes to everyone, like a public post, or through DMs, or through messages to the individuals that one at a time. You say, hey, I'm looking to leave my job, or I'm looking to get a job. I have some great skills in this area. I'm looking for this type of job. If you know of anything, please let's talk, or let me know. Okay. A message of that nature. Okay. So that's the most direct way of doing it. Now, as I said, for this to work, like most things, you have to happen to be doing this at precisely the right time and with precisely the right skill set that a hiring manager is looking. So this is not something that you do once. This is something you do on an ongoing basis. Okay. And there's many different opinions on how frequently you do that and how you go about doing that, what the protocol is. Okay, but that's the most direct thing. Now, so to come back to the question we got there in the chat, AT, is it a good or bad idea to contact a hiring manager directly, maybe an intro or pseudo information interview? Yeah, directly, definitely. See, this is the most direct way of tapping the hidden job market. Okay, now you may or may not know if this hiring manager is hiring, and you may or may not know if they are hiring, what they're looking for. Okay, so you're just basically putting yourself out, putting feelers out there and saying, hi, I can do this. If you're looking for someone that can do this, please let me know. Now, there are other ways of tapping the hidden job market too. This is the most direct way. There are more indirect ways. One way is informational interviews. And I've talked about this before. I haven't done any videos on the Company's Expert channel about this, but maybe I should in the future. This is a little bit more subtle and involved. Now, this would be a great method if you are a professional in your field. Okay, you're working in one of the professions. Maybe medicine, law, architecture, engineering. These type of things, right? But it's not limited to those professions. You could do this if you're a professional anything. If you're a marketer, salesperson, tradesperson, anything. And what you do is on social networking, one way of doing that, I'm going to give you one way of doing this. There are others. One way is to get on social networking. So say on LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn is probably the most useful tool of the social networking platforms because it's primarily for business. It's not exclusively for business, but primarily. And a lot of professional people are on there, and you can see their resumes essentially, and then you can see the group of people that they work with. Okay, so that's very, very useful. So on LinkedIn being an incredible tool, first of all, you can connect with a lot of people directly. So for example, okay, let's say you live in a certain city. I'm just going to pick a city, Chicago, okay, in the United States. Chicago, Illinois, right? United States. And that's where you are, and you're looking for a job in Chicago. And let's say you're in a certain industry, say engineering, okay? So you're in Chicago, and you're interested in, say, civil engineering. That's your profession, okay? It could just as easily be anything else. It could be sales. It could be, supply chain. It could be anything. But a good way to start would be to connect with all the hiring managers in your city. Okay, that would be the goal. Now, how do you do this? Well, it's actually a lot simpler than most people think. Okay. One method is, first of all, you need to discover the businesses in Chicago that are connected to civil engineering. Either they are civil engineering, like engineering companies, or they are companies that are related to civil engineering. Either they're construction companies, or I don't know, the building materials companies, or maybe like a concrete company or something that could conceivably use civil engineering skills, right? Either as an engineer or in some other role. Okay, it would be a company of interest, an organization of interest for you. So what you could do would be to go to Google and type in Chicago, if that's where you are, and then go to maps. So what you see is a big map of Chicago. Okay, and then in the search box in the corner, right next to that big map of Chicago, you type in civil engineering. And what you're going to see on the map is you're going to see, all these little businesses pop up on the map. And these are businesses or organizations that are connected in some way or related to civil engineering. So a lot of the civil engineering firms will show up, as well as things that are related to it. You might have to try a couple of different permutations, like engineering or construction or whatever. But basically, you will build up a list. You'll be able to see where those organizations are, and you'll be able to see where they are physically, like in relation to you. So for example, if say 1,000 organizations pop up, and that's a little unmanageable in the beginning, you could maybe start with 20, right? Well, you could maybe start with 20 that are closest to you, so that if you work there, you'd have the shortest commute, right? So that's a list of companies. You got a list of businesses. So you can see for each of these businesses or each of these organizations, you can see their name. You have the URL of their website. You check out their website. You have their phone number. You have their email address. You have like all that vital contact information on each of those businesses. But you can't see inside of the businesses. Well, that's what LinkedIn is for. So now that you know the names of these businesses, okay, let's say there's John's Civil Engineering that's located less than a mile from where you live. What you can do is now you go on LinkedIn and you do a search for John's Engineering, in Chicago. And what LinkedIn can do is they can let you see inside the company. You can see, say it says there are 12 employees on LinkedIn. You can see, and here's the individuals, here's their names, here's their titles, their role, and you can connect with those people. Okay, so that's the sort of magic combination of Google plus LinkedIn working together. So then what you can do is you can send out connection requests on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a big topic. There's all kinds of details here, but I'm just going to gloss over them so we stay kind of on topic here and don't make this all about LinkedIn. But basically, you can send out connection requests to all these people. So you can send out connection requests to everyone in John's Engineering in Chicago. Okay, preferably if you have a choice of who you connect to, the higher the person, the better. Okay, all the way up to the CEO. Now, if we're talking about celebrity CEOs, no, not really. But normal CEOs that aren't like billionaire celebrities, those are the people that you would want to connect to if you're a professional. Okay. And there are many reasons for that. Once again, can't get into the details, but you don't start at the bottom and go up. You start at the top and go down. Has a much higher success rate. Okay. So you send out a connection request. You say, hi, I see that we're in the same profession, or I see that we have connections in common, or I see that, there's some other reason I'd like to add you to my network on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And your name, very professional, well written, right? You're not crazy. You're not trying to sell something. You're just, very matter of fact. Now it's a numbers game. And when I did this many years ago, the success rate was about 30%. So if you connect for CEOs, so if you connect to CEOs in your hometown and you do what I just described, 30% of people will just connect with you. Okay. So if you do this to 100 people, you got 30 connections right there, 30 CEO connections or 30 executive connections right there. So now you're starting to build up this relevant network of people, right? They're in your profession, they're in your hometown, and you can now move on to the second step. So you wait a couple of weeks, right? Don't do this immediately. Wait a little while, and then you send them a message. For the 30 people who are now your connections, you send them a message, individual message, DM, and you say, I would very much enjoy to get your expert opinion on this topic, this topic being like, this industry or something like that. Could you spare 30 minutes? Maybe we could grab a coffee sometime. You pick the date, time, place, and I'll be there. And, that's it. Thank you very much for your time. There's obviously more details, but basically that's what you send. You send out a message and you say, I'd very much like to get your expert opinion on this, about this industry, right? What's happening in the industry right now. if you could spare perhaps, half an hour. Now, people are flattered when someone wants to hear what you think, right? Someone calls you up and says, or sends you a message and says, you know what? I would really love to get your opinion on this. Like you're this great accomplished person. I would very much like to hear what you think about this. And it would be a topic that you could assume they would enjoy speaking about. CEOs love to speak about their company or their industry. They are very knowledgeable on it, and it's all at the forefront of their mind, and they love to talk about it. So we as humans get flattered when someone sends us a message like that, and a lot of people will agree. The other thing is that if you don't know this already, a lot of executives, they part and parcel of their job, their role, is to face the public. This is one of the reasons why you go to the top first rather than the bottom up, because they are getting similar requests all the time from the press, from potential partners, from potential customers, from government, regulators, industry associations, and it's their job to respond, and to respond well, to portray the company in a very positive light. Okay. So, if you had sent this type of request to a middle manager or a lower level worker, they probably wouldn't know what to do with it. If they did respond, it would be like, hey, who are you? And what do you want? You want to talk to me? Why? But if you send it to an executive, especially a CEO, they won't have that reaction. Their reaction is, oh, okay, another one, another request for information. Okay, I get 2 or 3 of these a day. Here's another one. Okay. So now what I found when I did this several years ago was that the response rate for your connections who agree to have a meeting with you was also around 30%. So if you had 30 connections that you had made with CEOs and you sent them 30 messages, like one each gets a DM saying, I'd very much like to get your opinion. Could we have a meeting, maybe grab a coffee? 30% of those would say, yes, sure. Yeah. No, there's a good time Thursday at 2. We could come to my office, or we could go to the nearest Starbucks or something like that. Okay. So about 30% response rate. So if you had 30 connections, you'd have like what? What's 30% of 30? Like 9, something like that. Let's say 8 or 9 informational interviews, where now you've got interviews on your calendar. You dress up properly, you go and meet the person at their office or the Starbucks they proposed at the appointed time. And you go down there and you say, hey, it's great to meet you. Thank you. I'm just curious about this industry. I'm thinking of, learning more about it. I have a background in civil engineering, and, I was just curious about where the industry is going and what you're seeing, leading one of these firms. What are the changes coming in? Where's this going? And you just ask a bunch of questions. And normally these people are, very pleasant, and they're very approachable, and they're very willing to talk about their industry and to share their knowledge about it. Now, there are always exceptions. And in my experience, like 5% of people that I actually met, they were not that way. They were just very suspicious, and they didn't know what was going on, and they're very reluctant to talk. But literally 95% of people of CEOs that I've sat down and done informational interviews with, they're very friendly, very approachable. It's a very productive thing. And let's say you do this and it goes okay. So great. Thank you for your time. You give a business card, they give a business card, and you end with, listen, if I have, thank you for sharing, this insight. I really appreciate it. If I have any more questions, would I be able to give you a call? Would that be okay? Now, 90% of the time people say, sure, yeah, no problem. Now you got a connection there. That's if the meeting goes okay. Now, if the meeting goes great, okay, which sometimes it does, I'd say about 10 to 20%, somewhere in there, meeting goes great. You guys click. It's fun. It's natural. You both learn a lot. You both have a good time. And I've done those, and those are awesome. You ask someone for a half an hour meeting and they want to stay longer, and you end up talking to them for an hour and a half, and they have a great time. And when at the end of it, you have a CEO connection that you're on a first name basis with. And at that point, you can go away and you can come back in, say, 2 weeks with a message and say, hey, I was thinking about some of the stuff you said, and, I'm happen to be looking for a job now or looking for it soon. Would it make sense to look at your company? Do you have anything, or might you have anything? Could I contact your head of HR or something like that? And, good things tend to happen from that point. So I really have to do a proper video on this because there's so many details to this. But this really is the high level way of tapping the hidden job market. I've done this. I've gotten all kinds of consulting clients and things just by doing this. So it's something I'd highly recommend. But for most people, you're just going to be getting on social networking. You're going to be broadcasting to your connections. I have this. I'm looking for something in this field. I have great skills in this area. Do you know of anything? Okay. Now, if you have a small network, that might be effective up to a point, but obviously the larger your network, the more effective it'll be. Okay. So to that end, one thing that people should do, especially if you're between jobs, or even if you're casually looking, is connect to relevant people in your industry, people at high level, and people that, if you are looking in your hometown, these are people in your hometown. You're not connecting to people halfway around the world, if you have no desire to leave your hometown or something. Okay. So getting a network of high quality connections, especially on, platforms like LinkedIn, you're not just connected to 1,000 random people. You're connected to 1,000 executives in your industry, in your hometown. That's extremely useful. And that's a great way for beginners to tap the hidden job market. Build that connection on LinkedIn. This is something that you can do if you're an extrovert or an introvert. If you're not a networking type person, you don't like cold calls, you're not that great meeting people and schmoozing and all that. This is something that anybody can do. Okay. It helps if you have a good looking LinkedIn profile, because when you want to connect with people, in most cases, they're going to be looking at your profile. They say, who is this person? And if you look professional and, you have your information filled out, you've got a picture of yourself and you look reasonably friendly and approachable. You don't look like you're crazy, or you don't, my favorite is when people post their LinkedIn picture and there's 6 people in the picture and they're all drunk and they're partying, and you don't know who the person is of these 6 people, right? So don't do that. But get a professional LinkedIn profile down. No spelling errors, no lack of information about education. Give full and complete information, and do it so it looks professional. And then the picture of you should look. It doesn't have to be like taken by a photographer. You could take a selfie. You could have a friend take it, but as long as it's a good headshot, you could see your shoulders and your head, and look friendly in it. Okay. Don't, I remember getting some students to do this a few years ago, and, students would take these pictures where their headshots were like, they were just very unfriendly looking. They looked like they were mean, or they looked like they were miserable and, or scowling, or just like intense with the wild eyes. Don't just look normal, look friendly, like a person that you would want to meet and have a conversation with. And you can dress up, you can wear like fancy clothes. It's not necessary, but it sometimes helps. That's all you need to do. Oh. It's that feeling when you're about to sneeze. Fortunately, I have a mute button, but it's hard to press. It's the tiniest thing in the world to hit with my mouse. Anyway, so just to sum up, so someone says really practical tips. Well, thank you very much. So that's the hidden job market. Now, there's different ways to get in. We covered the basic way, which is, building a personal network on social networking, things like LinkedIn, making connections, and then building up your profile so you look professional, so people, would want to connect with you. And then you send out direct messages to your connections. Usually that's the best way instead of broadcasting it. It's obviously more labor intensive, but it's still the best method to do this. And say, I have this, I'm looking to do this. Let me know if you're looking for that. Another way is informational interviews, a little bit more involved, a little bit too involved to really give you all the details necessary to do it. It's quite a bit to it. But those are two main methods of tapping the hidden job market. As I said, the hidden job market there's 70% of all the jobs out there are in the hidden job market. So what you're seeing when you see all the jobs that are posted, those are only 30% of all the actual jobs. And the other reason why the hidden job market is important is because when you apply for a job that's posted, usually you're going in with 100 other candidates. So statistically, you only have a 1% chance of getting the job. Whereas in the hidden job market, if you do have any competitors, any other candidates that are applying for this, there's only like 2 or 3 max. That's the beauty of it. So statistically, your chances are a lot higher of getting a job in the hidden job market. Another advantage, by the way, is that the dynamic between the hiring manager and the applicant changes if it's in the hidden job market. If it's a posted job, you feel like an applicant, and you feel like, okay, they have all the power, they have the job, and you're sort of going on your knees begging for the job, please hire me, right? That's kind of the dynamic. For the hidden job market, it's more like, a vibe where they are recruiting you, okay? Because you're saying, hey, I got these skills, I'm looking for this. Let me know if you have something. And they say, you know what? I think I have something. You should come down and we'll talk. So when you have that talk, that like first interview, it feels a lot like they are recruiting you. That's how it feels to both parties. So that's another advantage of doing this. So it's sort of like a triple threat. Okay, the jobs there are many more jobs in the hidden job market, so that's why you should look there. You have much less competition for the job if the job is in the hidden job market. And when you go through the hiring process, the selection process, it's a different dynamic. It's a much more positive dynamic. It feels like they're recruiting you as opposed to you are applying to them. Okay? So that's kind of probably where I'd like to leave it today. I mean, that's a good overview of the hidden job market. This sort of splits off into all these different areas where you could cover in depth. And these are great ideas, I guess, for me to make videos on over on my other channel. I want to thank the people that participated in the chat, or the person that participated in the chat. And also, I have a Facebook group called The Company's Expert Get Hired, or Get Hired / The Company's Expert. On Facebook, there's a link in the description of the video to that. So please consider checking that out if you want to join that little group of people where we talk about this kind of thing on a regular basis. Other than that, I do this podcast. I'm going to be doing this podcast, Sunday Career Success, every Sunday at this time. I had a bit of a delayed start today, but hopefully it should go without a hitch. And yeah, and that's about it. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks a lot.